Welcome to Dave
and Mickey's
That's Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. You know what? It's the place to get your merch, and you can find us on air, online, and on your smart device. Grab an app. Also, you can listen anywhere, or you can listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. It's also home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations that you'll find in the chat room. So go there, get your merch, talk to us while we're on air. It's awesome.
Get it now.
Get it now. Don't whisper in my ear. It's just so wrong. Yeah, if you miss, you know what? If you miss Solaris' show, which I kind of didn't, I quite liked the last half an hour, and she had yet again another platinum show. Platinum, not gold. Gold.
Platinum.
Platinum. I don't know what we're doing. She had it was platinum because she had two other hosts on as well. She had a Mad Painter. Mad Painter is great. He's been there since the beginning. And Madeline Rudy as well. And I was hearing them talk about a whole bunch of things, Mackie, and most of those things, when Solaris on her show, and when she asks me before the end of her show what we're going to talk about, and I said we're doing the Parasitic Class Rules Us, and this is part 4.
Mm-hmm.
She said, wow, that dovetails into what we're talking about.
Nice.
And you know what? What she was talking about dovetails into what we're talking about.
Nice.
Right? So what's funny is, if you don't know who we're talking about, because you've caught this, someone's clipped this show, or you found it on YouTube or something like that, Solaris Blue Raven has the show prior to us on Revolution Radio.
Oh, hail Solaris.
We love the leader. And she has an awesome show. But you know what? If you want to try and track down her shows, you go to the archives on Revolution Radio, which you'll find is either revolution.radio or freedomslips.com. Same place, same site. You can listen to the station there, or you can listen to any respective host. If they have a YouTube channel, you can go there. But you know what? The archives are a great place, because you can not only find her shows, our shows, but you can find all the host shows there. And each show has a uniqueness about it, Mickey, where there's a thread that connects a lot of the shows together. But you know, if you like horses, Lady Horse has a great show. Solaris has some tremendous guests. Not some, always tremendous guests. And all of the other shows, there's legal shows, there's a whole bunch of, like, a great, the bandwidth, Mackie, the great spectrum here of talent.
That's words. You're right. That's
bingo! So look, it's a tremendous opportunity for you to learn more. So if we're the tip of the iceberg that you've come in contact with, by all means, find the rest of the shows and you'll love them. So, where Mackie and I live, and happens to be in Australia, you might have. I'm just going to put the accent a bit thicker. You know, on The Simpsons when they go, "I'll bring the chainsaw in," and he goes, "Rustier," and the audio engineer slides the slider up and makes it a rustier sound. Right? Well, I can do the same thing with Australian accent. So, you know what? We're in Australia. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? So, Meki and I, we respect the traditional custodians of the land. Where I live, it's the 𝐫𝐸𝐿.
And for me, it's the Darug people, the wonderful Darug people.
Yeah. Where I'm located, it's halfway between Sydney and Newcastle. And there was a highway of travel down there when the young folk, the young Aboriginals in their mob get to a certain age. You know that terrible teens, right? Mm-hmm. The terrible teen thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
They become recalcitrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hate everyone. Well, you know what? They just go, bugger off for a while. And that was called walkabout. And so when you grow up in any family, whether it's a group or it's an isolated family, you come to a point in your life where you counter everything that's going on. But having that exposure to another way of existence, or finding out everyone's just the same, everyone, doesn't matter where you go, you'll find the same thing. While you thought you were fighting, your oppression, you just find that it's not really oppression, it's just the way of life. And by doing the walkabout, you learnt that, and you came back stronger as a person.
Well, we've lost the ability to do this. Now, I don't know if you're Christian out there or not, but I mean, Buddhists and Hindus do it all the time. But if you're a Christian out there, that's what allegedly Jesus did for 42 days. He just took time out and cleansed himself and just tried to get perspective on things. That's something we just don't do anymore. And almost every native culture, almost every faith or religion follows the same kind of principle. Of course, we have completely forgotten about it. But yeah, Dave's right.
When you said, those people who might be religious, all I had in my mind was the Crusades. Yeah. Let's just go find out what other places are like. Oh, I don't like you.
Oh, and let's visit Jerusalem.
Let's get a bit stabby. Get a bit stabby.
What?
No, don't do that. No, we don't condone violence. So, Becky, I'm just going to say, right, I've spent a really serious part of this week, probably on top of my work, which is about, 40 to 45 hours a week. I've spent another 40 hours. I started adding it up today, just watching media.
Wow.
To try and gather a perspective about what's going on. Because, I've got channels that I like because they just, just like anything else that you do, you want to hear the words that you like to say come back at you. Clearly, that is the preference that makes people comfortable.
Oh, look, absolutely.
However, it grinds on you, I'll tell you. But when you watch the opposing opinion, I sit there absolutely like one of their people, and I struggle. But what I've noticed this week, Meki, is that CNN has changed decidedly on...
How do you mean?
Well, if I'm talking about the topic of the vaccine and lab leak.
Yes.
They kind of recanted. Well, when I say kind of, they
completely recanted.
Yeah.
Like, their previous position bears no similarities whatsoever with their current position.
Wow, did you watch it too?
I just like to say things.
So I was actually astounded that they've done a full 180. Because I think the position they took previously was anything Trump says, we will absolutely go against it, even if he's right. Well, he can't be right because it's Trump. So their opposing view put them into a position that sort of pandered for their audience. And when I say sort of, it did. Not sort of at all. That's how soft I'm trying to go on this. So this is it. I'm seeing the lab leak voices are getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And in fact, it's gone mainstream already. Not just the right, but it's the left as well. And everyone's jumping on board because it's the thing.
So, that's goodness. Well, in some ways. But I want to say two things. One, first of all, I don't think it was a leak, because leak implies accident. Okay, so I dropped the Ebola into the water supply from New York. Oopsies. That's not an accident. Okay, so I don't think there was a leak per se. I mean, it's possible. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it's possible. But
so what about just one of the people in there became sick as a result of? Well, no, you don't think so at all.
I'm not buying it at all. Look, Dave.
Okay, no. I just before you, because I think I know where you're going. Just one sec. So the reason for this lab leak that I can see, the lab leak, the posture, is so that they can then do that. Well, China needs to pay back for that.
Oh yes,
right. That's I think the motive behind,
like 100 trillion or whatever it was. What
yeah. Some big numbers. It is big numbers.
Yeah.
Right. So that's I think that the motive for that. But Mackie, go ahead with your line of thought.
Oh look, okay. Look, we've spent a lot of time and effort, I think, on this show over the last few weeks and months, looking at prior to talking about the fractional reserve learning system, parasites, etc. We talked about the biological weapons and microbiologists, and this topic we did long time ago, and we just refreshed it last year and then again this year. All the things that are lining up, and if you take into consideration our hypothesis as well, the way 2020 lined up and the way and I didn't even know that there was meant to be something happening in December in 2020 here in Australia from a vibrational frequency point of view in here. But so if you take all of that as one package, rather than picking here and there pieces of information, it is almost impossible to believe that this was an accident. If it were, then it would be the most fortunate accident for the parasites there ever was. Okay.
That's the Mackie I know.
Well, it's I'm sorry, but that's I don't want to call them like maybe just as a way by explanation as well here. If you're new to the show, and maybe you just stumble across us, when I talk about parasites, what I'm talking about is what other people refer to as the elite. The elite, though, is a very positively molded word, right? You say the elite, clearly they're better than us, right?
And you know what? It makes them feel good when you say the elite.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they're not.
That's the pedestal thing that you're putting them on immediately, just in a description of them.
No, they're parasites, so I'm going to call them parasites from here on in. Yeah. There's no more the elite or whatever. No, or the 1%ers or the 0.1 of a 1%er. These are the parasites that feed on the rotting carcass of our civilization. So if you take everything into consideration, I find it extremely hard to believe that this was an accidental event. Could it be? Of course it could be. In the same way, I find it very hard to believe that the Reichstag in Germany, caught fire by itself. I find it hard to believe that the Lusitania, was sunk by a kraken. I find it hard to believe that Pearl Harbor was a completely surprising event to the then U.S. administration. And I find it I find it as
Bay of Tonkin?
10-12, 10-12. 10-12. That's a veiled hint.
Yes.
I also believe that 10-12 was if not an executed event, an allowed event. Now these are all things that only become clear in hindsight. They're not necessarily just. I mean, if you're a researcher, if you know this kind of stuff, it doesn't really. You don't need hindsight. You can see it. However,
let's get that family out of the US.
Hey.
Let's identify within the first 20 minutes who did it.
Yeah, exactly. And the only people that were allowed to fly, like Dave just hinted at, were the family members of the key perpetrator, or the
correct
man, right?
Yes.
But yeah. So no, I don't buy the leak at all. I mean, I never bought the. It just happened. People just
that's also incorrect.
They ate bat meat or rodent or whatever. So that, no, I don't think so. But what I would like to see here, I mean, since they've gone with the leak, fair enough. I would like to see the theory explored that it started in more than one location at the same time. Okay, because we have September, October apparently samples from sewers in Italy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have that. I wanted to see the timeline of this thing really hammered out and explained.
Could you imagine if it just rained down from the sky?
Right. Look.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm not buying the lab leak at all. And you're right. I think it is a precursor to. I mean, not that that would happen. So okay, so America goes to the World Court and says, "Oh, we're going to sue China." You know what? I'm going to sell my American bonds. How you like that? No. Oopsies.
Yeah, you got to buy those up quicker than they can deflate. Yeah,
that's look. No, not there. But yeah, I know where the narrative is going, and I know what the official story is. And this is all about news, selling news as well. It's about the news cycle. You can only tell the same story for so long before people don't want to hear it anymore. You have to come up with something new.
Oh, they have, Mickey. Because remember the war on terror that lasted how many? 12 years?
Oh, dude, and
more?
You know what?
15 years? 18 years? 18 years.
But these countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, and I watch these documentaries now. The reports.
Where's the terror gone?
They're worse. They're worse, man.
Yeah, I know.
Those countries are.
So 18 years from 2001 to 2019 when the virus started.
They called it the long war in the end.
Yeah, but there was that, with CNN or Fox would play that dong, and then they'd put the graphic up, the infographic that said, war on terror, and then the crawl would all be about, the terror. I don't know who's terrified or what terror this was, but that was it. I mean, it ushered in. The war on terror did so many good things for the people who wanted it. All these rules, monitoring. Oh, yeah. We're in the world of Facebook, backdoor to all the governments in the world for their jurisdictions. All the big socials, right? Doing all of that. All the telemetry is there. All the cell phones. The cell phone. Yeah. Do you know what? I barely use my cell phone now for social media at all. It's a phone.
I've never used it for social media. I'll be honest to say, I never used Facebook, Twitter, nothing ever, not ever. Funny, right? I must be like I must be the elite. 1% of 1% of the people.
Hang on. Okay, so I'm gonna put this another way, Mackie. If you're the elite, then as crazy as to eccentric, how crazy is an eccentric person without money? Right? Are you one of the elites without money?
That's me, buddy.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're crazy, right?
No, but you're right. Though. It's a good distinction. To put it another way, the parasites know, right? Mm-hmm. They know. That's why they're at the top of the pyramid, because they have the knowledge, and we don't.
Yeah, I know.
And we have the knowledge, Dave, and I have some of the knowledge. I mean, we don't have all the knowledge. We got a lot of knowledge. Trust me. And you listen to the station, listen to Solaris and then Gerbe and all the others, you get a whole bunch more knowledge, and you become very well informed indeed. And then you can compete on. Well, is it a level playing field? No, it's not. But you have a better chance, at least.
I want the person who made contact with me in 2012, I think it was 2013, to make contact with me again. All right. That person will know who it is.
That sounds like a bit of a one-dad.
A what?
The classifieds.
A one-dad.
Dave, I like long walks on the beach. I'm a Taurus. And I have flat feet. Love me.
Love bushwalking. I know. I went bushwalking. There was nobody there. Wow. Every ad in the one ads all say, love bushwalking and holding hands on the beach. I went to the beach. There was no one there.
Where are they all?
I don't know. Bushwalking. No one likes bushwalking. Apparently, they're not there. So look, the other part of the media that I observed this week was the gain of function, which we brought up last week, but also last year. We were talking. Mackie and I were talking about what other opportunities for virus, because it doesn't get created in a wet market. In fact, I saw a news story that said no bats was sold in the whole of 2020 or whatever it was, 2019, in the wet market. Because it's anyway. But this is, going on from the Fauci email release, which was it was two other suits that were on and investigations. And it kind of looks like now, and I can see media coming out asking this question, and that is Fauci being set up as the fall guy?
It's look.
This is the thing. How would that? What would that mean for everybody?
It's a fair question, and it's also not too far from what normally happens. They always fall. Whenever something goes wrong or is exposed or doesn't go to plan, or people are against all expectations crying out for justice, as happened with, for example, in the Epstein case, as happened, for example, in the financial crisis, when you had the Lehman Brothers, well, they failed, they're gone. Epstein, he's gone. And no one, let me say this again, no one believes he killed himself. Not a single person.
And I'm going to say, where's Bill Gates right now? He's hanging out with Epstein on his new island.
That's what happened.
I reckon.
I
reckon he's in New Zealand.
The chucking burgers on the barbie with Osama and Bushes. So Fall Guy is sometimes necessary because in order to placate the masses, and let's make no mistake, the people, and I mean the people, they're really the people, right? Still have the power. So there's this beautiful analogy I recently heard. I heard it many years ago, but then it was brought to my attention yet again. Think of the world as a table, if you will. Let's say a poker table, and at the poker table there sit 8-10 parasites playing poker, right? But the poker table rests on the back of all of us. Okay, it's our backs upon which that poker table rests. If we all stand up, the poker table falls, and the parasites have nowhere. Well, they have nothing but running to do from there on in. That's a really beautiful analogy. The truth is, the power still rests with the people. The unfortunate thing is this: the people are divided amongst themselves. We have no common purpose. We try to undercut each other. And this is another beautiful drawing, like a cartoon drawing that I recently saw. And again, a table. 3 people are sitting at the table. Facing each other are an immigrant, or meant to be an immigrant, right? And on the left-hand side of the table is let's call it an American worker or an Australian worker, whoever is native to the country, right? And then in the center sort of the table sits the parasite, the rich banker, with a huge pile of money in front of him. The worker, the American worker, let's call him, has a small pile of money, and the immigrant has very little money. And the banker, the parasite, with a huge chunk of money in front of him, says, "Be careful," to the American worker. "Be careful, he wants your money." Right? And that's what it is in the world. Make no mistake. The parasites up there, and this is sort of in the theme of today's show as well, of course, they're okay. No matter what comes our way, all right? They're going to be okay with an 80 to 90% certainty. They're going to be okay. Maybe higher, depending on how high up the hierarchy they are. Whereas you and I, we are pitted against each other. If you've seen the movie They Live, you'll see it. The people were pitted against each other just to survive. All right, the protagonist tried to talk to his African American friend, didn't want to know about it, and the African American friend said, "Well, there's the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules." And all of us, we're just in the race, and I'm trying to do well, and if I'm going to try to do better than you, and if I have to trip you over to get to the finish line, then I'll have to do that. And that's the way that this system works. Okay, we're not fighting the problem. We don't even know what the problem is for most of us, right? We are simply acting and reacting and existing in a system not of our making. That's where we are. End message.
So, I've covered will the West call out for payback from China? That's also in the media. The other one was some interesting stuff from doctors talking about the success of Invermectin being used, and 4 tablets. This is in Mexico. 4 tablets being given to the person who tests positive, and that's it. Just a course. That's 1 a day. And they said that the hospital, that there's very low hospital bed, utilization.
Is there?
Very, very low. So okay. It's the best way of putting this is, remember how social media came down hard on anyone that went against the WHO recommendations. In fact, it came down so hard on people that they deplatformed you if you spoke out against against the narrative. right? Simply put. So that meant that if you just talked about hydroxychloroquine and zinc, or Invermectin, or other treatments, if you said anything about those, you could be deplatformed, and it's kind of still active right now. So I'm being very careful how I word this, because everything that it goes to YouTube is transcripted, and they pluck out words, and then if the intention around those words is to make a claim that they're good for something, or else or otherwise, they can deplatform you.
Let's be clear though. Hydrochloroquine is an anti-malaria medicine. It is. It's not some kind of wonder drug, or some kind of flim flam tonic that they used to sell at the turn of the century. Oh, it's good. It's good for what ails you. No.
Drinking your own urine is.
Oh, dude! I just saw this.
Oh, don't really?
This video clip. There's this. It must have been an Indian or Pakistani official. I mean, probably Indian.
Yeah.
I guess it was Hindu. Hindu makes sense, right? So Indian official in a uniform, and there's a cow doing its business, not number 2, number 1 business, and he just with both hands and takes a good hearty swig.
Oh, really?
and I thought. It's good for you to put some hair on every part of your body.
I stumbled into town just like a sacred cow. So
it's common practice, though.
Yeah, right. Well, good for them.
Yes.
Yep, that's something I'm probably.
I don't think it's going to catch on, though.
I'm never going to enjoy that sensation. Just really not going to. So look, I thought that was interesting that the treatments are now being discussed again. And people aren't being deplatformed, because the argument is, as long as you're not making a claim that it is, the cure-all for everything, it's not snake oil, right, being sold off the back of a chuck wagon. This is it. You should be able to have intelligent conversation, and you should be able to have conversation which counters the narrative. The news outlets have been doing this for a long time. And they don't get deplatformed unless you're, of course, Tucker Carlson, for instance, now is just kind of doing that on YouTube and can't get air. So and I think, Meki, it is all about the sale of the vaccine. So the opportunity to sell 7.7 billion vaccines at probably it's $10 each or something, right?
Twice.
Twice. Yep. That's got a lot of. That's a big stick to beat onto the.
Let's be. Yeah, sorry, you're right. So
the politicians.
The money is much bigger than that. So.
Yeah.
So yes, so they're going to sell it 7 billion times over, several times, and then. This is me.
It'll be annual. Yep.
Aha. Bingo.
Yeah.
Just like the flu shot, and all of a sudden, pharmacy does spend a lot of time in researching things, etc., etc.
It does.
That's all. That's true. And a lot of the things don't pan out, So, but having said that, they're still making insane profits. Okay?
But that's why selling a product that has gone, is no longer covered by patent, is the opposite of funding development and getting out a new product, which is patented to us. It's protected. Only we can sell this version of it.
But see, this goes back to the heart of the problem here, right? The heart of the problem, as we're trying to outline with this show cycle yet again, is the way our society works. Our civilization has gone down a wrong path at some point in the past. It just did. Off it went. And what could have been isn't, and we're now living where we are. Look, people say it's the best of all possible worlds. Well, I will, respectfully disagree. I don't think it is. It's a good world for many people. It's a terrible, terrible world for the vast majority. And there's this whole idea of that we can charge other people to live, to survive. It's in our psyche. It's in our civilizational psyche, which is just wrong. We need to change our ways, Dave. We have to move away from intellectual property. We have to move away from. I mean, they wanted to IP the human genome.
Yeah.
I mean,
what? Yeah, that's right.
You didn't make it. Okay. You
that's right.
looked at it, and you done good effort on decoding it. Awesome, good for you, right? But you didn't make it.
And nice try for attempting to patent it.
Right. Yeah, and see, this is the problem, where people are so greed. Let's be clear. It's greed, and more than greed, it is the need for the power structures to continually exist. So greed for everybody. That greed affects everybody. The need to retain power obviously only affects the people that are in power, right? So if you're in power, then you want to stay in power. That's just how. I mean, Putin. If there was in the dictionary. Need to retain power. There's a picture of Putin right next to it, right? And he's been the same with Benjamin Netanyahu. Any leader that tries to fandangle, the systems to suit themselves is guilty of that, and it's all across the world. I mean, Trump tried to do it in some ways, right? And certainly. We've seen it in the past with others, and currently we see it yet again in Myanmar with the military. No, sorry, you've gone as far as you can. We take power back. Thank you very much. And they can, because in a lot of countries, democracy or facsimiles thereof only exist under the sufferance of the military, because they have the power, right? And if they say, no, I don't like that anymore, let's just stop it. This democracy thing just didn't work out for us. This is really the critical failure of our civilization. Greed for everybody and the need to retain power for the few. You put those two together and you have where we are.
Yeah. So there's nothing like a great, a quiet little dictatorship somewhere. I try to tell people it's a very short street, Mackie, from a booming democracy to a dictatorship.
Oh, yes.
It's only a couple of rules. Yeah. Couple of laws, couple of rules, just to, hey, look, there's no more voting. I'm just going to be the leader from now on, right? That's all it takes. And we've seen Xi do it. We've seen Putin do it. Just, that doesn't matter anymore, right? What's it matter? I'm the best for everybody. So that's all it takes. It's like there's a lot of things that are only a very short road, and I didn't think we'd be there. I didn't think that the road was so short. From within the glassed bubble, and it's a D at the end, an NED, glassed bubble. So it's a manufactured bubble that we existed in pre all of this.
Also
probably in the year 2000, Mackie, all the way up until that 10-12 event.
Yep.
Good on your transcript, right? Take that, transcriptor. AI. So like I said, I was watching the videos from then, and there was an optimism in every single word that was mentioned in all of the media outlets. The news, the morning shows, and it wasn't paid infomercial optimism, the fake optimism. It was actually an energy we all had, like we were unstoppable, and it's all gone. So from back then, in that bubble, it would have seemed almost impossible for us to be where we are now.
I've mentioned this before.
The contrast is extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. And to make Dave's point, this is, I think I've shared this with you guys before, but my grandparents on my mother's side in Germany lived through World War I and then went World War II. They were old enough to actually understand. My grandfather, I think, was 14 when World War I broke out. And they said, life just goes, it happens, and until it doesn't.
Mm.
And so there's no lead up. There's no easing into a catastrophe. Catastrophe happens. I'll give you a simple example. There was this recent show I watched on the BBC, I think, historical archaeology. There's a city of Herculaneum. It's on the Bay of Naples, right near Pompeii. And both cities were affected by the Mount Vesuvius event. So Mount Vesuvius, a couple thousand years ago, had a massive eruption.
Yes, it did.
Both cities were destroyed, essentially.
Yep.
By destroyed, I mean they were covered in ash. Now, Pompeii was covered in a few feet of ash. Herculaneum was covered
Meters.
in 35 feet of ash.
That's right. 10 meters.
Right?
Yep.
10 meters of ash. So it is the best preserved Roman city of the time that we have, including paintings, etc. But the point I'm trying to make here is people were just living their life and getting on with everything until they didn't. It completely surprised them. It killed them where they stood. Whatever they were doing in Herculaneum at the time, and Pompeii as well, of course, that's where they died. So
Mickey,
just imagine...
It's the same as a revolution. You didn't think a revolution was going to be possible until it happens.
Again, a quote I recently heard: every revolution seems impossible until it becomes inevitable. So the French Revolution, I mean, you had to be a moron not to see it was coming, right? and by the way, Marie Antoinette never said, "Let them eat cake."
She didn't.
But the point is that there is a tipping point. There is the straw that breaks the camel's back. There is this thing that just the agitator, the catalyst that makes these things happen. And I believe very strongly that the reason it hasn't happened yet here for us is because of the concerted effort of the parasites to keep us dumb, uneducated, uninterested, lethargic, okay, and complacent. That's why it hasn't happened. Other peoples in the world, in India, for example, they're caught in the caste system. I mean, if you went to India and you saw how people lived, you go, how do you accept this?
That's right.
And there's tens of millions of them, tens of millions of these people living like that, right?
Yeah, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah, why do you accept it? And the reason they accept it is because it's their fate. Because they believe in reincarnation, and they also believe that in karma. So if you do good things, then good things will happen to you. Maybe not this life, but in your next life. So clearly, then the logic goes: if you are at the bottom of the pyramid, like the lowest caste, the untouchables, it's not even a caste, it's the untouchables, right? Then the pariahs, right? They're called. Then it's your fault, because clearly in a previous life you must have done something that condemned you to this life. So it's your fault. And the people are obviously born into it, and that's what they're taught.
They just wear it.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's astounding. It's the most effective piece of social engineering I have ever seen. The Nazis, the communists, nobody came close to it. Not anyone. And that's why you can keep these people in abject poverty, doing all the jobs that you don't want to do. It's terrifying.
It sure is. So, having said all of that, Mackie, thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say there is a patent that was put in by China back in February 2020, which was a patent for the vaccine of COVID-19. And that was put in before the virus was declared by the Chinese or the CCP, that there was even human-to-human spread. Extraordinary. Things you find out, But since we've got like 19 minutes left, I just want to say the UFO disclosure thing is going absolutely great guns now, comparatively, right? So
it happened. You slept. You missed it. Sorry.
Disclosure's gone. Come and gone. Yep. We're now in a post-disclosure world.
Absolutely.
So the Pentagon released a snippet of what they were going to say. I think it got leaked, another leak. But it's all purposeful releases, and they basically said some of the stuff you might have seen and that we've observed or people have seen is military, but there's some things that we don't know.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's a pretty good call, because I know that one of the things that Project Blue Book did was see if anyone saw any of their top secret military aircraft.
Yes.
And the SR-71 was never seen. The only detection that was something going on was little earthquakes at the same time, like in Wednesday afternoon or something, over California as it came in. It flew 1,500 sorties, and no one saw it. Extraordinary. So, given that was, 30 years ago? What do they have now? And maybe some of this stuff we're seeing is. But I think this is... What does it mean, Mackie, for religion, for there to be disclosure?
It's an interesting question. It depends. Dave. It really depends. Depends what. So UFO disclosure. All that it means at this point is that unidentified flying objects exist. That's it. Full stop. We haven't said they're alien or time travelers or dimensional travelers or bubblegum machines. No, we don't know, right?
The owner of the craft hasn't been discussed yet.
No, but let's say for argument's sake they were extraterrestrials. Let's say for argument's sake they are interdimensional travelers. Let's say they're time travelers. Let's say, well, somebody has to be in there. Somebody's piloting these things, even if it's automated. Somebody
it's owned by somebody, right?
Right. So some entity of some description is controlling these things, whatever they are. Now
they live inside the moon. Yep.
Now religion has faced. Now it's okay. So first of all, it wouldn't make any difference to Hinduism. Zero, none. Because the Hindus said, "Yeah, we've seen it all before. Thank you very much. We've said this for years. You never listened in the West, so shut up." So Hinduism is fine. Buddhism doesn't care either, because Buddhism doesn't concern itself with any of that.
Because the Mahabharata has them in conflict
completely. A lot of people believe that the Mahabharata talks about the civilization of Atlantis and the civilization of the Indus-Tal Valley fighting each other. But that's neither here nor there.
The blue people and the elephant person and a whole bunch of stuff. Yep.
100%. There's a lot of parallels to Western mythology and Osiris. Anyway, but
Sumerians. Yep.
We're getting off the topic. So in the Eastern religions, where it isn't about being right per se, it is about your way of life and how you interact with the world, and there aren't any doctrinal kind of things like we have in the West with our Christian Abrahamic religion. So in our Christian, or let's call it the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, right? They would be impacted significantly, potentially. Having said that, Christianity and by extension Judaism and Islam have survived the fact that the earth isn't flat. They have survived the fact that the earth is not the center of the universe. They've survived the fact that the sun is not the center of the universe. They have survived the fact that we've gone to the moon. Because in Islam there was this saying, not really a prophecy, but a saying, the world will come to an end as soon as a man walks on the moon. Now you can argue here that either we have not walked on the moon or it's a wrong prophecy, but the point is that these religions can survive. They can change and shape and shift. However, and this is where it becomes difficult. And again, this is not a problem for the Eastern religions, because that's pretty much how they're working today. But if we find that the inhabitants, or the pilots, as it were, of these objects that are flying and swimming all around us, somehow were responsible for the creation of these religions. I'm talking about the Abrahamic religions now, right?
Yeah.
That would be, in my opinion, a catastrophic event. So forget, what's his name? The guy that, was it Brown? Dick Brown? No, not Brown, something Brown. The guy that wrote, the Code, not Galileo Code. He wrote the book about the
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code. Thank you. That's it. So he's a terrible writer. He's the worst writer I've read. But it doesn't.
He still wrote. So you read it.
He stole. I read it. I read it all. I didn't just watch the movie. And he stole a lot of research from legitimate researchers. He really did. And he got it wrong. However, right? What he postulated was that, in fact, Jesus had children with Mary Magdalene that went to France, right? And they were raised there, and that one of the characters in this book, a lady, she's the last surviving child, great child of Jesus. That's what the whole Da Vinci Code is about. Sorry if I
Dan Brown
it for you. Dan Brown, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Flippy.
Yeah, sorry if I ruined it for you. Now,
spoiler alert.
Spoiler. So now imagine, right? So and the reason they tried to kill her and then Professor Landon is to keep that knowledge from ever coming out, because Jesus couldn't possibly have had children, because then they would be and this is where it gets really interesting, because if Jesus had children, then they should be in charge of the church. They should be in charge of his earthly Catholic whatever empire, not the Pope, the children of Jesus. Okay, because they should have inherited the title. Not Peter. So the Pope would then be an impostor. He would be an usurper, in fact.
That's why Jesus went through India.
Yeah, well, there's that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did he die at the cross? I don't think so, but that's a whole different show again.
Yeah.
And we spoke about that.
We've covered that one.
Yeah, but the problem here is that it would be enough, and in reality, I think it would be enough. If it were a true story, it would be enough for the Catholic Church and potentially other Christian churches to want to kill her or him, or whoever the child of Jesus is, right? Now that's just that. So that is if Jesus had a child. Now imagine this. What? And I'm just saying, spitballing here. What if Jesus, right, was in fact not really one of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or his father was not really one of us, and the angels weren't really one of us, but inner earthers, or in fact extraterrestrials, and they're anthropomorphic because this earth was seeded. And that's why we all look like homo.
Mackie,
like
you're gonna have to get your kids to start your car now.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Look, if my time is up, it's up. But the point is that if that could be shown to be a thing, it would collapse immediately. Okay, the Western religions would collapse, and it would lead to chaos. It would lead to mass suicides. I can say this. I guarantee it to you. It would lead to violence. It would lead to anarchy. They would burn down all the churches. They would burn down any building in the Vatican, if that were the case and it came out. Right? I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying it will. But you asked me what would be the effect.
Yeah,
So
completely.
Disclosure in and of itself right now means nothing to religion, because all we have said so far is yes, UFOs exist. Yes, we know. Yes, there are objects that are flying around and swimming around, that we don't know what they are. That's all we have said so far. But you play out certain scenarios as to what they are. The story changes.
Oh yeah, you definitely have situations going, like the scenarios could go in any direction. One of the religions, Becky, started talking about intelligent design to save themselves from this. The Catholic Church built the largest set of binoculars on Earth, and it's called Lucifer.
Yeah.
So they're in bed with Lucifer, Becky. Run that course.
But you know what Lucifer means, though, right? The name.
Yeah, light.
No, light bringer.
That's right. I know.
Bearer of light. That's and he was his crime, and I've said this before in another show. Mm-hmm. His crime, as well as Prometheus. It's the same person. In my opinion. Prometheus, Lucifer, same person. They brought us light or fire. In my opinion, what that meant is they brought us knowledge. They lifted us up out of servitude from the Anunnaki and gave us knowledge. Right? They lit our path. They gave us intellectual fire, so to speak. And
one of the fallen angels, Becky, and the angels were one of the aliens that decided to help us out.
100%. That's their crime. That was the highest crime, in fact, the highest crime for which he got then expelled.
And that's the post-Diluvian era.
No, pre.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
Pretty sure it was pre. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we had the problem where no one from the pre-Diluvian era lived in the post. So
not many, because you see that there's still legends of giants.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So I think you're right. Most of the DNA was wiped out.
That's right.
In the cataclysm, and then they started again. And so we are not the children of Adam. If anybody thinks we are, we're not.
No. So remember that the stories where people were even rescued by aliens.
Yes.
Yeah, and then brought back after the floods had receded.
Well, to be clear, they were
changed
in an iron vessel.
Yes.
That came down from the sky. So aliens, maybe, sure, could be.
Well, no one else at the time that we know of, but since there was some fantastic technology back then, this is the second of what we've got is recorded history as technological ages.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's a different show cycle. Please.
But we've spoken about all these things. Yeah,
we have.
So the question that I raised. And it's still valid, I think, and that is, do we think that aliens might already be living on this planet with us? And I would say yes. So our oceans are vast. We've searched almost none of it.
We can't.
No, but the fact that
it's easier to get to the moon than the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and it's so close to us, the bottom of the ocean. So. The fact that a USO can be a UFO and then submerge and live beneath the water proves the technology that you could just fly to any planet that had an ocean and disappear under the water, hidden from the people, and be there for centuries. No one would know.
Oh, completely. And in fact, there was some of the themes of the science fiction movies. I do want to share, right. Dave. There's something I need to share with.
4 minutes. You've got.
Yeah, I know, but this is really on the lighter side. So I like to browse for food. So this is, I want to get everybody, get in the mood for the second hour, because this is a bit of fun. So I want to give you 3 food items that I came across in a Japanese shop, online shop. This is not made up. I can send you the link. Number 3 of strange foods Mackie came across this week: horse and deer meat curry in a can. Horse and deer meat curry in a can.
Oh, the what are they called? Dark meats, or the flavoursome aromatic meats?
Horse and deer meat, my friend.
Horse and deer.
Second,
in a can. For your convenience.
Strange foods that Mackie came across in a Japanese online store is the Japanese canned miso bear meat. Bear meat, not beer meat, bear meat. Japanese canned miso bear meat.
So it's a miso soup with bear meat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the number one strangest food that Mackie has encountered this week in an online Japanese shop is this. And bear with me. This is canned horse meat, in brackets, whale flavor. because the bear meat was pretty ordinary. And I'm thinking, if you have horse meat, how do you make it taste like whale? I don't know. And why do you want to? I don't know. These are all questions, and I'm not making this up. This is something you can buy if you want to. And online, I sent you the link, Dave. And in fact, I'll put it in the chat room, because
please.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But it's a thing. I hope that brought a smile to your face. Canned horse meat, whale flavor.
Well, Becky, there was some crisps, like packets of potato chips that I saw that were hamburger flavored.
Yeah.
And I thought couldn't you just eat a hamburger?
I guess how boring is that, though?
So now when you're at a party and there's bowls of chips on the table, and you take one and you've stood in a different position, and now you've got a flavour that you weren't so impressed with, and you can move around the table. Well, what they've done is they've introduced packets of mixed flavoured chips. I don't know how they derive these flavors, because I think they just make up a flavor by randomosity, and then they survey a bunch of people to ask them what they think it tastes like, and then when they get a majority vote on it, that's what they label it.
That's interesting.
Because I don't think they actually go down the path of intending to design a certain flavor. That's not a thing. So I've seen a room of 50 people doing taste tests and numbering, it's all blind, and writing down what they think it tastes like, and the outcome in one of those was one of these packets. Because you eat it and you go, if I took a blind taste to that, I would say it's a, and then you look at the packet flavor and you go, not at all the same.
Not even close, but hey, thanks for trying.
You might as well just buy randomly flavoured chips. But anyway, so they have 2 different flavours in the same packet now, and when you put them out, you don't know. They look identical. So it's not bad if you're having them with salsa or some kind of dip. It's quite refreshing to get a different flavour, but on their own,
and the musica! Donate if you can, please.
Yeah, do that, donate, or get yourself some merch from the station. This is Dave and Mackie's Shiny Side Out. The end of the first hour of episode 482. And we'll catch you on the other side of this short break.